guys, so we are back for another Mindset Monday session. We are here with Ashley Harris from A Peaceful Mind Counseling. Ashley, can you tell us about yourself?
Yes. So my name is Ashley Harris. I own A Peaceful Mind Counseling in Waterbury, Connecticut. I specialize in anxiety, depression, and trauma. And I work with mostly adults, but I do see some adolescents as well.
Oh, that's amazing. So how long have you been a counselor, and how long have you had your business?
So I've been a counselor maybe 14, 15 years. I think I lost track. So it's been
It's been that long,
It's
right?
been that long, yeah, absolutely. And then I have my business. I just celebrated in July 5 years.
Oh, well, congratulations on
Thank
5
you.
years. That's
Thank
a
you
big
very much.
accomplishment.
Thank you.
You know, they say any business that lasts past 3 to 5 years, you're going to be in business for a long time.
Absolutely, yeah. Because I was a little bit nervous at first when I first started. Because I remember I had like one client.
You got to start from somewhere. Everybody starts off small, and then you kind of just build from there and keep going. Yes,
absolutely.
So tell me, what does a peaceful mind mean to you personally and professionally?
That's a good one. So I would say a peaceful mind means like really being content in your life. Because a lot of times what I teach clients and what I practice in my personal life is like how to like navigate the ebbs and flows of life and how to like balance yourself. Because a lot of times like I have people that come in and they want to be happy. And sometimes happiness is unrealistic because you ever like wake up in the morning and you're having like a crazy morning, by 3 o'clock you're laughing, you had a good night, and you're like, oh, that wasn't a bad day. So I like to teach clients how to like kind of go with the ebbs and flows of life and how to be content. So that's like really what it means to me, is just how to shift through the ups and downs without like losing your balance.
So that is really important. And you talked a little bit about happiness. I feel like happiness is subjective, and it's kind of like based on your circumstances.
Right.
Because like say like you get what you want, you're happy. When you don't have what you want, you're not happy anymore. So I think like one of the biggest things that I like to tell people about is more important or better to strive for joy than happiness, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And like how to learn how to like navigate through the difficult times to where you kind of find that balance to where, because a lot of times I have clients that struggle with when things don't go well. They feel like they have to just like for example, like I have a client who I'm working with where they're doing all this healing and all of a sudden something bad happens and they automatically think they have to throw all their healing away. I'm like, no, part of healing is also having some negative emotions, having some setbacks, because sometimes you got to take a step back to go forward, or it's like looking at maybe just old behaviors that are coming up. That's it.
That's true. That's true. As a social worker, like one of the things like I talk with like some of the clients that I meet with as well is falling short is part of like recovery. You know what I mean? Like the relapse is part of the recovery process. So it's like the same thing with counseling. You're not always going to have like those joyful, happy days where everything's perfect. There's going to be times where times are hard, and you're going to have to lean on those coping skills and the strategies that you learn along the way.
Right.
Yeah,
it's gonna help push you through.
So tell me, what are like some challenges that you had in your entrepreneurial journey, like just starting your business and as a business owner now?
I think the first thing was fear, because I remember I had like my business name for a while, and I had it in like this notebook, and I remember the notebook had like aloe on it, and it was like blue, and I remember I wrote down the name A Peaceful Mind Counseling, and at the time I was working at 2 other different practices, and it was during the pandemic. It was like the height of the pandemic, and I was working at a medical practice too, and they're all like really good jobs, but I remember just the fear, because I was like, who's gonna want to like do therapy with me? That was like running through my head, and I'm, how am I gonna do this? And I didn't really have any guidance, but I do remember the one practice I was working with, me and her are really close, and she one day said to me, she was like, I'm moving to North Carolina. And I was like, oh, okay. And in my head it wasn't clicking, and she was like, I need you to take your people and like go. Like she wasn't like kicking me up, but she was like, you know, take all your people and start your business. And I remember she showed me like some stuff to do, and she was like,
she
go
gave
ahead.
Like the blueprint.
And I remember I was sitting on it, and finally one day I'm like, what do I have to lose? So I went, applied for an LLC, and I just kind of like went with it. But it was like really scary, because I think in my family, like I want to say like my cousin, he's an entrepreneur, but like nobody else in my family has had a business. And for a long time, like my dad was telling me that, but I was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But I was like, at that point in time, I was like, what's the worst that could happen? So I think that was like one of the biggest challenges was fear, and also like learning how to work in a business versus an agency, because agency you're very much so like told what to do. You have your own systems and different things like that. When you're business, you can pick and choose what you want to do.
Yes, you can.
And that can also be a bit scary, because it was a lot of trial and error, a lot of things I paid for that did not work out well. A lot of trial and error, a lot of missed payments of certain things, messing up stuff
along the way.
Yeah, and that was like the scariest part. Now I think also one of the biggest things I learned also too was like not being afraid to ask for help, like paying people to pick their brain, or taking a training or asking questions or just asking somebody like, how do I do something? Because I used to be like, I'm gonna do this all on my own. And I was kind of afraid because I didn't want to look stupid, but I'm like, everybody has to be seen trying. Everybody has to start from somewhere.
That's true. I like that you touched on that because, you know, as an entrepreneur, sometimes we think that we can do all the things, or sometimes we don't have like the resources to be able to say, hey, I have this that I need to get done and that I need to get done. So it's kind of like you as a business owner, entrepreneur, you take on all of that and you have to play all of those roles. So one of the biggest thing is knowing how to ask for help and kind of like using your resources as it goes along.
Absolutely.
So January is Mental Wellness Month. Tell me, one of the biggest things that I see as a social worker and, you know, like in the counseling field is burnout. How do you like educate your clients about burnout, and what strategies do you give them to help with burnout?
So a lot of it is also, I teach clients about like kind of having like a mindful morning. I'm like, set up your morning to where if you can, try to have a slow process, you know, check in with yourself. Like I teach them coping skills. I'm like, on the way to work, ask yourself how am I feeling today, what's your intention? Do I have any meetings I need to be on the lookout for? And also, I'm a big like proponent of like promoting mental health days.
Yes, it's
I encourage that for my clients. I'm like, take a mental health day off. I was like, try to have a slow morning, see if you could work from home, different things like that. But also like really paying attention to boundaries and different things. And I do have like some clients that like work in nursing and different things like that. But I'm also like, utilize your time off. Very much so, utilize it. Try to shift your schedule, different things like that. But really practicing self-care too. And like self-care could be putting your phone on D&D when you're eating lunch. I'm like, actual eat a lunch. Do not do a working lunch. That's like, I think a lot of us do that. Eating while you're on the computer, I have a hard time with that.
I have done that too, yes.
Working from home, I'm like, oh, I could do these notes real quick.
And you're eating and you're working at the same time, and before you know it, you're like, I didn't even have any time for myself because I was working while eating and doing all the things,
And also like different types of rest. Like sometimes rest is like taking a day off to clean up your house, or taking a day off to like literally lay in bed, or taking a day off to like be with your friends or go to church. Different things like that, because I think people automatically think rest has to be laying down, but it might just be taking a day off to go sit outside in the park and do absolutely nothing, or just a day to just maybe like, I don't know, just nothing at all, you know, things like that too as well.
I like that you talked about that, because a lot of people feel that rest is unproductive, and I've been guilty of this too myself. You know, I feel like I like to be on the go, always doing something. So when I'm not doing something, it feels unproductive, like laziness or whatever else have you. But I have found that in those times where I actually take time to rest, then when I get going again, like I'm able to be much more productive because I actually took time to like relax, reset, pause, and recharge before starting on the next project.
That was me this morning, because I was going to get up. I'm a 5 a.m. gym girly. This morning I was like, nope, I'm going to lay in bed, because I know I had to like be here later on, and I was like, I'm going to relax all day. I'm going to clean up my house. And I started cleaning at about 12, and I did not feel like depleted or nothing. I feel fine. And I was like, I did feel a little bit guilty, but I'm like, you do this every day. You get up, you go. I didn't have my son. I was like, relax.
Yes, exactly. So what you talked a little bit about one of the things that you experienced as an entrepreneur was fear. Can you tell me, are there any other limiting beliefs that you've experienced like as an entrepreneur in your counseling practice, whether it's whether it's imposter syndrome, self-doubt, self-confidence issues? Tell me about that.
I would just have to say it's like imposter syndrome. Like sometimes I'm working with like DCF or bigger things. I go to court sometimes, or I'm even like in a room with other therapists, and sometimes I have to like remind myself like I'm meant to be here, and I'm not where I'm not supposed to be at. But also too, like sometimes I do get intimidating because like people will like try to challenge me, and I'm also like, I didn't get here in 15 years. Like, I know what I'm doing. I'm here. But sometimes it does become a struggle because people will challenge you. Sometimes even with clients. Sometimes I have clients that are therapists. And I think the imposter syndrome comes up for me because I'm like, this is another therapist. But I also realize that I'm a therapist and I go to therapy, and that also, they're not looking at me in that way, but it's like my own mind. So I think a lot of times it's me kind of going against my mind and being like, why am I thinking about this? It's a lot of it goes back to fear and like anxiety, and it's like also that unknown. But at the same time, like, you know, faith and fear are two of the same things.
Yes.
And you have to kind of also be
you can
like,
choose to be faithful or fear,
and they're both things that are asking you to believe in something that you can't really say.
Yes, Yes, indeed.
Mhm.
So one of the biggest things that you mentioned actually, you talked about how when you are experiencing imposter syndrome,
Mhm.
you talked about how you challenge it, and I think that is so important. The first thing is being aware
Mhm.
of what you're experiencing, and then challenge it,
Mhm.
because all of us have thoughts that come into our mind every second of every day, but we don't have to choose to agree or oblige to those thoughts.
Mhm.
We can challenge those thoughts and reframe them into, like better thoughts, positive thoughts.
Mhm.
So I like that you touched on that, and that's very important. I think that's one of the things that I talk with the clients that I work with about, being aware of what you're experiencing when it comes to limiting beliefs, and then challenging it.
Absolutely. And a lot of times, I teach clients to like find out where that belief came from, and a lot of times also understand that thoughts are not facts. And if you can't find any tangible proof, then it's just a thought, and you kind of have to just sit with it. But a lot of times, I'm like, who said it?
Exactly.
And sometimes I have to ask myself that, like, is this something that somebody said to me? And a lot of times that's what it is. Like, who told me I'm not a good therapist? Who told me I'm not supposed to be in this room? Oh, that's just my anxiety. And I always like teach clients, your anxiety is like a bully. It will just say anything and everything to you. And a lot of times, like, the one thing that sticks is that crazy thing that doesn't even make sense.
Yeah, so that is important, because a lot of times, like, you can find that those thoughts, those negative beliefs, limiting beliefs, they come from like what we're either told, what we're either taught as a child, or like experiences, relationship, friendships along the way, or even sometimes those things that we repeatedly tell ourselves. You know what I mean? Like when you say that, oh, I'm not good at this, or I'm not gonna accomplish this, oh, I don't know, I'm too tired today, or I'm not gonna get this done. Those are thoughts, and when we continue to repeat them, then they become our belief system. So just reframing and challenging those thoughts, and finding out where they came from and being aware of them, that's important.
All the time, yeah, it's very, very important. So like just the awareness part of it, to understand like where it's coming from, and just kind of like reframing is a big thing.
So a peaceful mind counseling, when you typically meet with your clients, how often is it that you find clients who are ready to go into counseling, but they are like somewhat apprehensive about actually receiving therapy and counseling services?
I want to say it's like usually like 75% of the time, because people are like, usually like a lot of times I do find that people kind of like are at their wits end, or they're like questioning it. So sometimes what I'll do is I'll do a consultation session, and I'll break down certain things. I'm like, ask me anything that you need to ask me. I don't care if it's a random question. Like I had clients sometimes will come with a whole list of questions. They're like, do you listen to this type of music? And I'm like, sure, you can ask that. But I really do like to break it down. But a lot of times, like there is a lot of ambivalence, because I also feel like majority of my clients are African American. So a lot of times there is a lot of ambivalence towards like, do you think I'm crazy? And I'm like, no, I don't think you're crazy, because a lot of my clients are just regular people going through like day-to-day stressors and different things like that. So a lot of times it is that. And I do help them work through. And sometimes, like, people don't come back, or they do, but it is a big part of it. And that's kind of part of it, I think, with anything. Because even, like, I'm a therapist, and I think probably, like, 8-9 years ago, I was at that place where I'm like, I don't need therapy, I'm fine. And I remember, like, one of my colleagues was like, remember we learned in grad school, she was like, every therapist is a therapist. You can't be treating people but not taking care of yourself.
That's true. So talking about taking care of yourself, you mentioned that you go to the gym. What are some other tools that you use to pour back into you and your own well-being?
I have slow mornings. Like I've been utilizing a schedule where I start at 10, because I put my son in the bus at like 6:40. So I take the morning to like relax, meal prep, eat an actual full breakfast, like sit down, make coffee, eat, watch TV, just like chill. I'll scroll on TikTok, I'll read a book. I'll even like, those are times I also go to the gym. So like really utilizing slow mornings, and also stopping my day before I get my son at the bus. Like I stop my day at 2. Taking care of myself. I want to say what else. Intentional like mental health days. I will block off time.
Intentionality is key. Yes.
Block off days, and I tell my clients at these couple days, and I mean it's a day where I'm not taking any calls, no nothing at all. So I want to say another thing too is spa days. Like
spa days are important.
Spa days.
I have a couple of spas that I love to frequent.
Okay.
Yes.
Those things. Also days for like trainings, and just like days to just do absolutely nothing. But I think the biggest one for me is also making sure I do therapy. And Pilates and like meditation, and just like a lot of breathing, and just taking care of myself.
So that, I love that you touched on that. One thing that you mentioned is that you stop your days at 2. How does having boundaries play a role in you helping your clients and caring for yourself?
So a lot of times I'm a firm believer in I have to practice what I preach. And a lot of times sometimes I'm using myself to model it, but I'm also doing it with clients. So a lot of it is like really teaching, and kind of like, sometimes I use myself as an example where I'm just like, I had to learn how do I say this? I used to make my schedule around my clients when I first started. And I remember I had a colleague and she was like, you make your schedule towards your life and not feeling bad about it, but also really understand that if I'm my best self, if I'm doing what I need to do for myself to be able to show up for my clients.
Yes,
And so I also teach that because I have a lot of clients that are single mothers and I'm like, you got to take care of you before you take care of your children sometimes.
Yes.
Because if you're not 100%, you can't be there for your kids.
Mm.
So a lot of times it is modeling and I'm like, hey, you know, Friday I'm taking a mental health day. And my client's like, okay. And she was like, I need to do that. And I'm like, yeah, you do.
Yes.
So a lot of it is like real life teaching in the moment or being like, you know, I block off this type of times or, you know, during the holidays, I was off for those 2 weeks. I took that time off.
Yeah.
And there was like one day I did go into the office to check on a couple things, but other than that, I have strict boundaries and my clients know, like I always say, after 5 p.m. my phone is on D&D and the weekends I don't work, so you have emergency, you know where to go. So setting it up that way is a lot of it is modeling and teaching, but also understanding that, you know, it's case by case, but really teaching clients to be like, okay, where's a little bit of wiggle room? And it's like really helping them edge, like not edge into, but like step into it inch by inch.
So modeling the behavior and being an example is very important. For modeling and being an example, what is some advice that you would give to someone else that would like to be an entrepreneur that maybe wants to start like their own counseling practice? For anyone that may be following that maybe wanted to do that.
I would definitely say shadow somebody, find another therapist that maybe you admire, or just asking somebody and like looking around at different people's models. Because I did feel like I met a lot of different therapists along the way and they kind of taught me different things about how they run their practice and what works well for them. Like I have a colleague that lives out, I want to say she lives out in California. She works a 3-day schedule, but she works 3 10-hour days, and it works well for her. Then I have another colleague that works only evenings, and it works well for her. So I think it's like asking people questions, like modeling things, but not being afraid to experiment with your schedule, not being afraid to like really make it make sense for you and make it around your life versus your client's life. I want to say, what was the other thing I wanted to say too? It slipped my mind, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Now, do you offer mentorship? Like, say, for example, for someone that may be watching that may want to start like their own wellness practice.
Yes, I do.
Practice. Do you offer mentorship?
Yes, I do. That's part of like my coaching business. I do for interns. I do supervision and different things like that. But I have helped other of my colleagues help them start their own private practice too as well.
Oh, that is awesome. That's amazing. So, for people that want to get in touch with you, get connected, stay connected, how do they reach you?
So I'm on Instagram at peacefulmind.counseling. And I'm on Instagram, and also I'm trying to think what else. TikTok too, the same exact. It's like Peaceful Mind Healing.
Okay, awesome.
Yes.
And the link will be in the bio. Thanks, Ashley. I appreciate talking.